Welcome to the Introduction to CAD and CAE. In Product Documentation Part 2, you annotate the drawing views and add geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. After completing this lesson, you will be able to open an existing drawing of a clutch lever, add center lines to the views, add linear and angular dimensions, add radius and diameter dimensions, add hole notes, and add a datum identifier and a feature control frame. I've opened the supplied drawing file, and I'm going to start by adding center lines. I like to add the center lines first because very often you dimension to the ends of those center lines. So center marks on the circles and between any two edges that you think you'll be dimensioning to. Now when I add this center line, it's not quite long enough. What I can do then is click on that, and there are arrows at each end. I can just drag on those. And for this bottom one, I'm actually going to drag it. For this bottom one, I'm actually going to drag it through the part because I'll be dimensioning to the end of that center line. I'm going to start dimensioning now by going to Dimension, Linear Dimension. Zoom in on that area. Click the first point, then the second, and place the dimension. I have that at 28.00. I've gone to Annotation Settings, 2 decimal places, and trailing zeros. Added a second dimension of 100, and then the overall height of 90. I like to focus on length, height, and width to get the dimensioning process started. On the top view, 17.5 and 35. The next dimensions I'm going to add will be linear dimensions, but I'm going to be placing a series of dimensions. So I'm going to place one dimension, back to dimensions, and select chain. Select that right edge, and then just select the points. Where you have a series of dimensions like this, it's much quicker to add the 3 dimensions, in my case, by using chain dimension. Go to Dimensions. I'm going to add an angular dimension between the top edge and the sloping edge. And you can place this in a couple of locations. I'm going to go to the right. Click there, a value of 34 degrees. Again, select 2 edges. Decide where I want to place that dimension. It's going to be 45 degrees. Back to Dimensions. This time a radius dimension. A couple of radii on the view that has the true shape of one of the faces. So that's radius 4, and the inside radius is radius 3. As well as radius, I can go to diameter. The large circle in the front view is diameter 25, and the smaller circle, diameter 10. This time I'm going to place some text. You can always place dimensions. So for this counterboard hole, I'm going to place the information as a text note. It's fairly lengthy, so I'm going to make that text box quite large. First information is going to be 3.00 and 30.00. Now I can use symbols to help with the information. The first one is going to be diameter, 3.00. And the second one is going to be the depth. And you see there's quite a number of symbols you can select from. Down onto the next line, that's going to be 5.00 and 8.00. And again, similar workflow. But in this case, it's a counterboard depth, so select that symbol. And for the 8, again, it's going to be depth, so we can use that. So it's a counterboard diameter 5 and a depth of 8. For the third line, I want to add some information. That's going to be C front view for tapped hole data. Now you may not want that on 3 lines, so you can enlarge the text box 2 lines, maybe even a little better. Click on Close. Back to Dimensions, and Aligned Dimension. Select one point, select the other, and that will give you the true dimension for the length of that line of 36.19. Now I want to inform the person looking at this it's actually an inspection dimension, and I'm going to put a round shape around it so people will know that's an inspection dimension. You should look at that dimension. Again, back to Dimensions. I'm going to put a linear dimension on this sloping face. And again, back to the dimension, Representation. In this case, this is a reference dimension. And click on Fit. And I want to add what we call GDT, Geometric Dimensioning and Tolerancing. It consists of 2 parts. I want to add an identifier. So this datum identifier will be that bottom edge, and it represents that face. Starting, of course, at A. You could change that letter if you wish, but we'll keep that sequential. The second part is a feature control frame, referencing that edge, and then filling out the frame with the required information. Into my dialog box, I want it to be angle, and the tolerance. Input the tolerance as 0.05, referencing a datum, in this case A. So 3 pieces of information. Click on OK. So now we know that the 45-degree angle cannot vary more than 0.05 from that datum A. I'm just going to double check the title block, double click on it, review all the information all the way from scale down to drawing number, etc. And that's fine, so I can click on OK. Now I can save this, of course, within Fusion, or I can output it as a PDF file, a DWG, use it as a drawing template, or if I have a parts list, I can output that as a CSV file. I'm now going to save the file and click on OK. For your reference, I've provided a PDF file of the completed drawing. So I've added all the dimensions, and I rotated the view that contained the true shape, or the true shape of that face. You can use this PDF file as a reference.